Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the InnoTech Forum. I hope your day has been inspiring, full of ideas and great discussions. I'm Natalia Beregoi and I'll be moderating this afternoon session. We'll explore the topic of empowering future-ready organization through data, AI, and ethical governance. So we are living now in a time where technology, governance, and innovation are connected more than ever. This afternoon, we'll look at how tools like AI and blockchain and ethical challenges and what the future holds for leadership, learning, and funding. Our speakers are experts from different fields and have unique perspectives and practical advice. They'll talk about using data, about how to adapt Industry 5.0, and how to prepare for the next wave of innovation. So let's make this session very interactive, so please share your thoughts, address questions, and connect with the ideas presented. Now, without further ado, let's begin with our first speaker. I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker, Robert KHACHATRYAN, an expert in higher education governance, quality control, and data governance, who will talk about data-driven governance, how to unlock full value of data in the era with artificial intelligence. So please join me in welcoming Robert to this join. Hello, Robert. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. So definitely, as our very nice host mentioned, it should be very interactive and engaging. So please feel free to get into the discussion and ask questions. So I like to stay in touch with you. So if you want, you can scan the QR code. So I've been in the field of higher education over 15 years, doing different scales of presentations, doing a lot of data governance issues, data governance architecture, and interrelated systems and processes. So I would like to present you the overview, where I'll be guiding you through different components such as what is data-driven governance, what's the difference between data-driven governance, what is the difference with traditional governance. Then I'll talk about different use cases, but I think I will make it very short and I'll open the floor to discussions. So basically, two questions. What is data and what is data-driven governance? So data is everywhere. It's like pervasive. So if we are talking about wearables, let's say iWatch, so it tracks our steps. If we are talking about credit cards, it tracks our financial information. Amazon, whenever we make purchases on Amazon, it also tracks our purchase history. If we are doing different navigations through different tools, Netflix, it also collects data about our preferences, about our emotions, about our sensations. And data-driven governance is based mainly and predominantly with the data. So basically, without any further ado, what is data? It's unprocessed, it is raw collection of different facts, different events, different processes, as well as symbols or figures. So whenever we are talking about data, we should talk about representing different observations. We are talking about different measurements and measures. Let's say one very common buzzword is KPI, key performance indicator, is also based on the data collected, gathered, and analyzed through different sources. Data serves as the foundation for generating either information or knowledge. So basically, this is very generic introduction to the concept of data. Here, I just present how much of data we create annually. If you see the trend, so in 2010, the volume of data that we were, like as humans, were generating was not even similar to whatever we are generating in 2024 and in 2025. If you see some data, approximately 402 million terabytes of data is being created per day. It means everything, whatever we do, we create videos, we create different messages, different texts. Everything is a part of this data. For 2024, we have 147 zettabytes of data. Basically, zettabytes is like a big amount of data. I mean, if we do the calculation in terms of printed volume of data, that will be around 70 billion stacks of books, or that this amount of data will be carried on 147 billion hard drives, and each hard drive will be having like 1 terabyte capacity in it. So basically, whatever we interact, whatever we produce is being stored now in its different forms, especially in the digital form. So data-driven governance is something that is already here. We have two options: either to deal with data-driven governance, or we really may opt in not choosing to deal with data. So basically, very key characteristics of data, which we should comprehend whenever we are developing our different frameworks, different policies. One of them is that data is raw and unorganized. So data in its raw form comes to us. We need to comprehend and understand how we are going to transform this data into meaningful chunks of information or knowledge. Data, there are different types and formats of data. One of them that we should really focus on, that we need to understand what data we are working with and how we are going to transform this data into meaningful insights. Data is also has some kind of scalability and volume. Here, please remember this very generic knowledge of 5 V's for the data. This is volume, velocity, I mean the speed by which data is being generated and is being consumed by different groups. It's about variety. I mean, we have a big variety of data flowing from different sources. We have veracity, accuracy of this data, because data cleansing takes a lot of both human resources as well as financial resources. And we have also different values of data. I'm going to delve into those values just to understand why it matters for organization. Then data is never static, especially in 21st century. It's always dynamically being developed, like with each moment. Right now I'm speaking, and definitely a lot of data is being created. And data is always relational and contextual. For this one, we need to understand what context we are giving to this data. For example, if we are talking about organization, we need to understand what is vision, mission, and strategic objectives of that organization, and how we are going to conceive the data and how we are going to transform this data into meaningful connections, alignment with strategic documents. Here, basically, the definition of data-driven governance is provided. So it is like the practice of making decisions. It is about mainly decisions and policies, managing different resources and executing organizational functions. So data always helps us to make more efficient, more targeted, more resource-intensive decisions, and we are always talking about either efficiency or effectiveness, or both of them at the same time. So data-driven governance is also helping us to prioritize decision making, which is based on evidence. So whenever we'll be talking about traditional governance, there are times whenever decisions were being made on intuition rather than based on the evidence. That evidence can be like personal evidence, it can be anecdotal evidence, it can be factual as well. So basically, I already mentioned about several of ideas in terms of data management tools. However, I'm just giving here the list of most common tools that in 21st century, especially after 2020, when generative AI tools have been surfing into the world, can be used. I mean, one of them is AI, which is mainly using like large language models. Then big data analytics, we have cloud computing, we have Internet of Things, we have blockchain technologies, data visualization, different tools. We can also talk about different tools like Tableau or whatever it is. Robotic process, automation, which is really used with automation, of the data, as well as digital twin technology. So this is also one of the concepts that will be coming into the domain of our everyday use very soon, like maximum up to 5 years. So here, as I mentioned, data has different values. So, of course, this list is not comprehensive whatsoever. I just try to bring relational, contextual topic to our discussion. Some of these values are, of course, personal values, because there are times when we think, why do we need to manage data? Why do we need to think even about data? For example, one component of personal value is emotional resonance. For example, our pictures, our photos, messages, they show how we are progressing as person, and it shows our way of communication. So that's why data has a personal value, which is also called individual data utility. Under personal value, we also keep data, and we need to analyze in terms of our well-being, in terms of our self-awareness, in terms of our professional growth or individual growth. As I mentioned, iWatch or other wearables, they take a lot of information, how many steps we have walked during the day, right? How many stairs we have climbed towards there, and it really helps us to understand the dynamics of our both personal, social, or other types of well-being. Then data also has personal value in terms of safety and security, because it really enhances our day-to-day life. Then the data also has economic value. Economic value is like a very important information in terms of catalyst for innovation and growth, because data, as it is stated here, fuels new industries. It can be artificial intelligence, it can be fintech, or any other type of technology. Data has also optimized public resources. Whenever we use data-driven governance, we are trying to allocate and use current resources in the most efficient and effective way. Data has also social value. It helps us to improve quality of life. Quality of life as a person, quality of life as a society, or as any member of a socium. So data personalizes services in healthcare, in education, in welfare systems. For example, any of massive open online courses, Coursera provides the information worldwide, which are the trending courses that a lot of people are being signed for, are trying to graduate from. It shows also some kind of trends and dynamics. Then social value also has a component of equity and inclusivity. So whenever we do proper data-driven governance, it helps us to be as inclusive and to reduce disparities as possible. Data also has, of course, political value, and this is not only about the politics of any country or of any state. Politics can also be internal policies, which are related documents coming from the overall vision of an organization. Under political value, we are talking about increased either government accountability or increased institutional accountability, whenever all stakeholders are participating and are being engaged in different processes. And also data has strengthened democracy, because data-driven tools enhance citizen participation a lot. Of course, this still should be elaborated in more details to understand how all those political processes have been developing after generative AI tools served into the world around like 2020s. So this is the overall framework. This framework, of course, has a lot of components into it, but most important 5 factors which are presented here, I will very briefly try to present. These are policies, guidelines, and standards. So all these components under the first pillar should be aligned with your strategic vision, mission, and all the components where board of directors, C-suite, let's say CEOs, CFOs, and CEOs, they should be aligned, after which only it cascades down to the development of proper guidelines, proper standards as well as proper policies. After this, the whole process is being discussed and clearly aligned at different levels. We need to start thinking about what is our data quality framework. Of course, speakers before me, they have been elaborating on all the details of this, different types of framework, which they covered in very extensive way, so I won't focus on them. Then we have the issue of privacy, compliance, and security. So whenever we are talking about data-driven governance, we should really think and consider always about ethical decisions and how privacy frameworks of different regions. One of them is European region, the other one is American. In MENA region, how do these frameworks come into play whenever we make ethical decisions? Then from this, it cascades down to information architecture and integration. So we write two speakers before me, two of them covered in very details about the data infrastructure, data architecture, as well as information architecture. And then data should be reported and should be analyzed. And here where data visualization tools come into play. So here I just try to present two different sides of governance. One of them is traditional governance and the other one is data-driven governance. Components are presented here on your left side, and I'll start with decisions. I mean decision-based for all decisions. Under traditional governance, these decisions, as I mentioned, they are basically or mainly like delved into the intuition, into the previous experiences, but not data-driven governance. That's why we have historical or anecdotal evidence. Whenever we switch into data-driven governance, here we have already real-time data, because historical data doesn't give us insight of what is happening now. It may have some lag. Even one-day lag can have detrimental impact on the decisions. And under data-driven governance, we also should start thinking about data predictive analysis. Of course, we can extrapolate historical data, but real-time data gives us more opportunities to do some kind of predictions and predictive analytics. The second component under data-driven governance is service delivery. Under traditional governance, we have one-size-fits-all approach. So, I mean, we develop one tool, we develop one process, and we are trying to fit into different needs. However, under data-driven governance, we have personalized and custom-centric approaches. That's why whenever we talk about bots, different bots, I mean, they really try to give you, of course, if it is really well-trained bot, it tries to give you different varieties of decisions which will help you to navigate through your journey. Then we have efficiency. Under traditional governance, we have problem with reactive addressing problems. However, under data-driven governance, it gives us opportunity to do predictions. Our decisions are more proactive, I mean, strategically being planned well in advance. Then we have transparency issue. In most cases, when we are talking about traditional governance, data either is very limited or bounded to the government sources or closed sources, so people or users or stakeholders, they don't have too much access as under data-driven governance, where it is open and accessible to different stakeholders, to different users. Then we also have technology use. In most cases, under traditional governance, technologies are used minimally. Of course, there are technologies being implemented during the whole process, but the scale of those technologies is very minimum. However, under data-driven governance, we have extensive integration of different tools. As I mentioned, AI, it can be Internet of technologies, it can be machine learning, it can be different other blockchain technologies. One of the examples of recent, let's say, new trend going on worldwide is issuing diplomas using blockchain technologies. This is something which, again, considering ethical issues has some kind of implications in terms of educational data. Then we have adaptability as well as scalability under traditional way of governance. Under this component, the data flows are very, very slow. And as it is mentioned here, changes in policies or changes in services require very extensive period of time. However, under data-driven governance, the whole processes are happening in a very agile way. It is really dynamically changing as the data becomes available to us. And we also have policy evaluation, advent, wherever under traditional governance it is very infrequent in terms of its sequences and iterations. However, under data-driven governance, we have continuous evaluation of our policies. So whenever we do use policy, we already have some kind of insights how that policy worked. So these were basic differences between these two types of policies and data-driven governance components. So this is one of examples, just this is not like, as I mentioned, one approach that fits all cases. We need to think about what is the purpose. I mean, from a purpose, definitely all the data and information architecture plays out in a very efficient way. Then we need to think about different functionalities. Here I also incorporated learner experience because universities can have their learning experiences, different organizations can have their institutional learning experiences. Then we have compliance with both governmental frameworks, compliance with the stakeholders' needs, compliance with internal decisions of board of directors. We have these different components of technology, the ones that I have covered. We have additional considerations such as ethical considerations. So ethical considerations should consider regional frameworks as well as the national legislation. Terms and conditions, technical standards, and references or different resources which become available as a part of data glossary. So that was overview of data-driven governance. Now, of course, I was going to pose this question to the audience, but maybe I'll do it later on towards the Q&A session. So what do you think, what is your organizational mission? And from that mission, you need to consider what types of data do we need to use, and are we going to use this data in real time? So here, I mean, I tried to connect based on the factual evidences, what are the overall emerging challenges in terms of data-driven governance and what solutions can organizations have. These are, as you see, 6 main challenges which are very pervasive and common among different types of organizations with different functionalities. One of them is data privacy and security. We covered this issue, I mean, protecting sensitive information, also trying to ensure compliance with different regulations. Those regulations can be regional ones, can be national regulations, it can be also very specific to domain, like domain-focused regulations. The other one is data integration and data silos. One of speakers covered in details about those data silos, so I wouldn't go into this component. However, we here need to talk about combining data coming from different or disparate systems, meaning from different non-integrated data systems. Then we have lack of skilled workforce. As we go into the new digital era, hard skills become obsolete. However, soft skills are really becoming something that a lot of people should embed in their processes, but very big question mark here. Hard skills in terms of data analytics, data visualization, data integration. These are all those hard skills which are becoming more and more needed in the labor market. I mean, I would just bring one example of Python. Python now, very recently I was looking for the indexes in terms of Python. Python is the language which has 22% of global coverage as one of coding languages. So basically means the future one of tools that we can use for the future of data analytics, especially in different domains, will be Python. The other one is data quality and accuracy. Here we have a lot of problems and a lot of challenges with working with a lot of incomplete, inaccurate data. Whenever we take data sets, we need really to look into those data sets to do some kind of data cleansing and to understand how this data works, at least functionally. Then we have big problem of resistance to change. So a lot of staff members, a lot of employees, they need to understand what is the value of data. Otherwise, at the organizational culture level, it creates reluctance to adopt new technologies, reluctance to do data analytics, and reluctance correspondingly to different processes. And the last one is technology infrastructure costs. It costs a lot of money. It costs not only monetary value, but it also costs a lot of environmental issues such as energy consumption. So these were the 6 challenges which are common to different organizations, no matter what is the domain of those organizations. However, there are also high 6-level transformations that any organization can take and can undertake and can internalize. One of them is to establish a robust data governance framework. As I mentioned, this framework should really be aligned with your strategy, with your vision and mission. Otherwise, this document will be an obsolete document without any implementation. Then we have the overall organizational idea of investing in scalable and secure technology infrastructures. Then we also have foster a data-centric organizational culture. Otherwise, if we don't foster that culture, staff members, overall organization will not internalize and will not understand the overall value of data. Then we have to prioritize data quality and accessibility. To which stakeholders do we give access to data, how they are going to use, and for which reasons. For example, are these reasons which are being used ethical, or do they consider ethical stipulations? And we also need to enhance stakeholder engagement and trust, because this is really very difficult to have a buy-in from our board of directors or board of trustees. And we also need to leverage different advanced analytics for strategic insights. Now there are so many tools which are available readily on the market and which can be used with different competency levels of body of knowledge. So here I just try to present one example from the university where we take learners' data and how we can incorporate this data into the day-to-day life, into the functional frameworks. I'm very sorry, there are some issues with the fonts because there were again, technical complications. So basically, we need to talk about content and curriculum. Here, all educational programs or platforms, digital content that is being created should be considered. That's why we have LMS components, which should feed data for this specific content and curriculum. We have coordination and leadership. So under here, as I mentioned, we need to have vision and goals. We need to have our frameworks. We need to have evidence-informed decision-making whenever we are profiling students, whenever we are providing our guidance to students. Then we need to have considerations about cost and accountability and sustainability issues whenever this is a very new buzzword which really surfaced, during recent 10 years, decade, alignment with USDGs, United Nations Sustainability Goals. We need to have some data to prove that we are aligned with sustainability goals. Of course, we need to consider issues on connectivity as well as infrastructures, and we need also to talk about capacity and culture of any educational institution. A covered component of culture, but capacity in terms of future readiness, which are those future ready skills which we should develop and nurture among our staff members, should be considered. And of course, we should talk about different roles of stakeholders. For schools, it can be parents, guardians. For universities, it can be government, it can be industry representative, it can be different employers. I mean, stakeholders here are really vast in their nature. And I will stop on this slide. So here I'm trying to bring you the alignment between what is learner empowerment, how we are going to discuss for principles to balance between the learner experience and institutional accountability, where we have students on one side and we have institution on the other side with its different restrictions, with different considerations in terms of environment. Of course, I mean, here I provided several evidence-based ideas from the learning and development component, but I'll skip this one. And also for the Office of Institutional Analysis, at least universities. Why I focus on universities? Because other business-oriented organizations have, to different levels, have considered about having data integrity, considered having institutional effectiveness considerations, but a lot of times universities are lagging behind this new development in data analytics. So I'll give the floor now to questions and answers, and I'll ask also my host to moderate the questions.
Thank you very much, Robert. Do you have some questions to him, to Robert? He just got so well prepared today, so yes, please, if you may come here closer.
Thank you. Maybe the question will be not so much on data-driven governance, but it is somehow around it. About fourth and fifth industrial revolutions that brings these changes. The problem is that they are discussed in small groups, and society doesn't know what happens and why these huge changes in artificial intelligence come to us and change our lives. What do you think should be done? And some considerations about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. A very important topic, but also a very big topic because it has both philosophical paradigm issues considering as well as very actionable steps that we need to do. One of ideas that I mentioned is changing from transformation from traditional governance to data-driven governance. Of course, as you mentioned, a lot of data is not available and accessible to different masses of population. However, this is, at least this is my personal consideration, will be changing in coming 3 years. Because as you noticed, starting from 2020, whenever generative AI, ChatGPT was released, huge volume of information of data became available to different groups. It took 2 to 3 years to become very accessible. It will take another up to 5 years for the cycle to be more inclusive. And also we have new generations coming which are very digitally tuned, and they will be also having a replicative effect on their parents, replicative effects on their grandparents, replicative effects on schools, nurseries, schools, universities, because those generations, whenever they will be entering the data systems and education systems, they will be requiring and they will be anticipating more engagement. But I think in coming 3 years, more AI tools will be accessible to different groups of people. But definitely this is a very good idea and should be considered by different governments, by different organizations, and how they are stakeholder-centric they are. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? No, so then we thank Robert for this insightful presentation. So yeah, thank you very much. Nice applause to Robert. Now we move on and to the next session and to the next speaker. Now it's the time to talk about legal aspect of AI and to find who is the guilty, who is guilty if AI does something wrong. So I'm delighted to invite Constantin VOZIAN, a legal expert in aviation and a strong advocate for passenger rights. With deep experience in aviation law and technology, Constantin understands how innovation, safety, and accountability intersect. So let's invite Constantin here. He is online with us now.
Hello,
Yes.
dear colleagues. Hello to everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. It's my gratitude to being part of this event.
Yes, Constantin, we can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for having this possibility to be part of this very important and useful meeting. Can we go through the presentation?
Yes, we can see you, Constantin, and please share your presentation.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay, you can start. We're
Just a
listening to you.
moment, please. Some technical issues, just a moment. Sorry.
Yes, it works. We can see the presentation and you.
It works?
Yes, it works.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just the small technical question. Who will skip to the next slide? Okay. Thank you. Let's move on. I will just start with some words about artificial intelligence, and I would like to say that AI poses serious challenges for the current general theory of liability, mainly due to its capacity to learn from its experience and make decisions independently of any human intervention. The problem of guilty mind remains the most problematic aspect in a legal relationship, and I am grateful to share some of my opinions with you through the following presentation. The concept of artificial intelligence is not clearly and comprehensively regulated in the legislation of many countries at this time. Despite the apparent lack of difficulty in understanding this term at a general perception level, from a legislative perspective, formulating a clear and unambiguous definition is more than necessary. It is widely known that in jurisprudence, the proper application of substantive law is of paramount importance, both in contractual relationships where no disputes or misunderstandings exist between the parties, and especially when conflicts arise, necessitating the protection or enforcement of certain rights, whether through judicial or extrajudicial means. In this regard, civil, criminal, and administrative law doctrine should be adjusted to reflect the increasingly widespread use of artificial intelligence elements in legal relationships. This adjustment is crucial to ensure that various sectors of the economy do not face constraints due to the lack of regulation of this emerging element. Given that, at present, the issue of AI as a distinct element within a legal framework is not conceptually clarified, it is not possible to apply any specific legal norms that would define the legal boundaries of artificial intelligence within a legal relationship, an absolutely essential matter when it comes to the possibility of establishing any social relations. Next slide, please. According to the legislation of the Republic of Moldova, as well as the legislative systems of most countries worldwide, the subject of a legal relationship as established in the general theory of law may be a natural person or a legal entity. In the case of natural persons, various categories of specific subjects can be distinguished, such as individuals, public officials, while in the case of legal entities, public authorities cannot be considered as subjects. However, despite the fact that emerging technologies enable the replacement of the human factor with elements of AI, the recognition of artificial intelligence as a distinct subject within a legal relationship is not currently provided for. Next slide, please. Why is it important to explicitly establish that artificial intelligence can, in itself, hold the quality of a legal subject? Analyzing the constitutive elements of an offense, we observe that in addition to the object and the objective aspect, two indispensable elements are the subject and the subjective aspect. If we theoretically admit that in the near future, artificial intelligence could be classified as a distinct subject within the composition of an offense, a contravention, or more broadly, within a legal relationship, what happens to the subject aspect? The subjective aspect is an element characteristic exclusively for humans as rational beings. For example, according to the general theory of criminal or contravention law, a specific age, such as under 16 or 14 years, is a circumstance that excludes liability due to the lack of objective conditions for individuals at that age to perceive the harmful nature of an action or their inability to enter into civil legal contracts due to absence of legal capacity. This is even more evident in the case of individuals who are incapacitated or have limited exercise capacity, further demonstrating that the mental attitude of a human being is indispensable to a legal relationship, at least within the boundaries of the current paradigm. Next slide, please. Human nature is such that any novelty is usually perceived first and foremost as a threat, and then only later as a solution. This trait originates from the era of early humans and, in certain contexts, is a quality that has allowed the human species to survive over time, despite numerous challenges. The perception of AI as a risk or danger is a perfectly natural state of affairs, one that, with the passage of time, will come to be seen as beneficial at a universally acceptable level. For example, a robotic vacuum cleaner is largely regarded as a friendly household aid, whereas driverless cars or pilotless aircraft are still far from being widely accepted. One of the barriers, whether we like it or not, is of a legal nature. Where there is a human being responsible, in the event of an unforeseen incident, there is someone to be held accountable. However, in the case of AI, this remains outside the scope of a clear regulation. Next slide, please. The institution of legal liability is a fundamental category of a state formation, being one of the internal drivers that, during the pre-state era, led to the organization of the human race into what we now recognize as a state. Even though individuals are accustomed to everyday life and do not delve into the details of every legal relationship encountered daily, from a scientific perspective, we can assert that legal liability is a pillar of our existence. For example, the seller is responsible for the quality of food products, the restaurant for the lunch it serves, the police for the road traffic safety, and an entire medical system for childbirth. In other words, for almost every situation we find ourselves in, there is someone accountable who, in the event of consequences, can be held liable. Liability arises when a causal link can be established, involving an analysis of the conduct of the person who should have either acted or refrained from action to prevent or cause a particular outcome. This causal link, in turn, is tied to the volitional factor, to attitude, which are characteristics specific to human nature. When undesirable consequences arise from the use of artificial intelligence elements, who could potentially be considered responsible or liable? The manufacturer of the device with artificial intelligence, the company providing maintenance services, or perhaps both, or could it be neither? Next slide, please. A highly relevant sociological study for the subject under discussion was conducted in the United States, where several individuals were surveyed about their views on the use of autonomous vehicles. Approximately 64% responded that they were concerned, 34% stated that they were not concerned, and 2% did not know. To create a favorable environment for the development and the implementation of artificial intelligence in various sectors of the economy, I believe that adjusting the regulatory framework is essential. Following the model of digitalization strategies, which themselves represent a form of AI application on a smaller scale, we should similarly begin with a strategy for integrating AI elements into areas where this is feasible. The steps taken should, as much as possible, be measured to ensure the gradual implementation of this type of technology. Additionally, transition periods in these fields subject to implementation are absolutely necessary. During these periods, options to access traditional services involving human factors should remain available, at least as operators or assistants to the technology. Adapting standards and compliance requirements are likely the most complex and challenging tasks, but once developed, they would make the process of implementing AI much more feasible and predictable. For example, I came across an online photograph of a woman whose work involved being physically present in an elevator, something still quite common in hospital elevators across the Republic of Moldova and perhaps elsewhere. Naturally, the idea of a person being physically present in an elevator as an operator is unimaginable, at least for young generations, which is entirely the opposite of the norm when elevators first appeared, when a human operator was indispensable. Similarly, many professions listed in today's occupation classifications will likely seem equally quaint in the years to come. However, this evolution should not frighten us. On the contrary, in our view, it creates opportunities to focus on goals that are more significant and necessary for human life. Next one, please. Last but not least, in cases of illegal consequences involving artificial intelligence, the legal situation is atypical. On one hand, failing to hold anyone accountable risks creating unjustified impunity, while on the other hand, the decision-making independence of artificial intelligence makes it seem unjustified to hold human factor responsible. Even to the extent that fault can be attributed, it is difficult to precisely identify which of the dozens or hundreds of human actors were directly responsible, and even less feasible to hold all programmers who were ever involved in the creation and management of that artificial intelligence accountable. Next slide, please. Actually, this is what I would like to talk about. I would be very interested in your questions. And what I would like to say now is that the legal issues with the AI is, as I was previously talked about, a problem not only for such small countries as the Republic of Moldova, but even for the most important economies of the world. But we have to work a lot on this issue. The scientists from over the world and lawyers have a lot of research and discussions, and we hope that in the nearest future it would be possible to see on the roads, to see in the sky, and even in other important areas, AI intelligence and unmanned devices. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much, Constantin. It was very insightful. People actually were waiting for you to come back, and for that we took a pause. a break. So please, if you have some questions to Constantin, now is the time. Oh, yeah, thank you.
I have one question. How do you think this system of rules of ethics have place in the society? It is an opinion that Isaac Asimov and his free law of robotics is the foundation of contemporary ethics in artificial intelligence. What is your opinion or knowledge about this? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, is probably the most important aspect of this topic nowadays. And talking about ethics, when we discuss about technologies, of course, it is the most challenging issue nowadays. What I really know, and I definitely think that it is the solution is to, as I previously told, to change the paradigm. Because nowadays, during the whole history of jurisprudence, everything was built around the human. Of course, it is very difficult now to change the mind of population that, for example, flying via airplane, which is remotely piloted, could be even safer. But you know that there are a lot of areas where we have already technologies instead of human. And for example, I can here talk about subway trains in, for example, in Paris. There are a lot of trains already which are unmanned, let's say, driven. And this scares, let's say, nobody. People are already very nice with this kind of transportation, and they even understand that this kind of transportation could be even more safe and more secure. Of course, talking about ethics, I think that developing a kind of, let's say, a code of ethics when we have AI presence, it could be a solution, because even if it is artificial, it is a kind of solutions. And as far as this kind of intelligence is developing, of course, we can, as consumers, for example, as human beings, we must be sure, we have to be sure that we are in a safe and secure area. That's why we have to break the paradigm, and we have to try from, let's say, very simple areas, not from areas where implementing is very difficult and where we have a lot of threats, but for example from education, not from areas where we have a lot of risks. But all of us, I probably know that there are already a lot of experiments and a lot of actions done. For example, we even have airplanes which now fly without human involved, even if we have a crew in the cockpit, but this crew is mostly kind of operators, not in fact pilots. I hope
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Constantin. So we have a chat. If you have more questions, please address the question in the chat to Constantin. We are running out of our time, so just let's applause to Constantin for his insightful presentation. And we move on. So the next speaker explores the powerful role of blockchain technology in corporate governance. So please welcome Adrian MANOLE. He's a co-founder of LexChain, as our speaker. So Adrian is a leader in using blockchain to create transparent, secure, and efficient corporate system. So with a strong track record in blockchain solutions, he has driven innovations that tackle one of the biggest challenges for organizations today, corruption. So let's hear for Adrian how actually blockchain can help us to solve with corruption. And look at him. He's so young and talented, so please give him a really, really good applause. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Adrian. I am the co-founder of LexChain, a startup that right now is working in Republic of Moldova to digitalize the legal documents in the justice system. And also, I'm a student at Technical University of Moldova. I don't have the pager to change the slides. So, as I was saying, I am a student at Technical University of the Republic of Moldova, UTM, and there I'm learning cybersecurity. And today I'm gonna show you guys how to implement blockchain in your businesses and the corporate environment. We hear the term blockchain so often, especially in the cryptocurrency craze that we saw a few years ago. Cryptocurrency was used so often, but many of us don't know the real possibilities of blockchain. It's a really complicated technology, but let's think of it right now as a digital notebook that you can record important information, such as transactions, or maybe you have some documents you want to secure. Well, let's now think of blockchain as a digital notebook. The most important thing in the blockchain technology is that this notebook is not stored on just one computer. There are a lot of computers that store the same information, meaning that they are forming a network that is spread around the world. Every transaction in blockchain is linked with the previous one. I mean, every information that you want to store on the blockchain is linked with the previous one. This means that blockchain is decentralized, so every information, like I said, is not stored on just one computer. There are a lot of computers that are on the same page as you. Think of blockchain as a really long chain, and think of each block as a link. Meaning that if you want to add more information, you can do that, but you can't remove the existing information. Meaning that for example, at our startup, like I said, we are digitalizing the legal documents in Republic of Moldova. Well, the prosecutors can add more information to the file, but they can't remove the information from the file, meaning that it's more secure than the solutions that are right now in our country. So blockchain is a secure way to store and share information. Maybe you have a business that is selling stuff. Well, you can add the tracking information in the blockchain. You can handle secure payments with your clients, and you can even add and digitalize the existing legal files in the network. Meaning that every information it's stored in a shared database that it's stored across many computers. Well, in my image, I have all of these notebooks that I said earlier. They are interconnected with each other, meaning that every computer is on the same page as the other one. Everyone has the same information as the other one. What is in it for you? Well, if you adopt blockchain, here are some great benefits. First of all, is immutability, transparency, and decentralization. One key benefit is security. Security makes every information in your business decentralized. It encrypts the product against fraud. An example is if your business is really important on data security, hackers can't just access your network and do malicious stuff, because there are a lot of computers and every information is shared on a lot of them. So you must change all of the information on all of the computers if you want to do malicious things. For example, we at LexChain use blockchain to secure legal documents, ensuring they cannot be altered or deleted without any trace, making it more secure than just a simple database that maybe is encrypted. But encryption is, again, expensive. So you might just implement blockchain. Another thing is efficiency. You can remove intermediaries. I myself think, and my whole team thinks that adding a lot of humans in your processes, in your business, means that you are making it less efficient. Adding humans in your structure means that it could be more corrupt and more expensive. For example, like I said, we at LexChain are digitalizing Moldova legal files, and we are replacing the inefficient paper-based systems with a digital one, reducing delays and human error. The traceability aspect is really important. We are providing an immutable record and enhancing product traceability and reducing fraud. In blockchain, it's really important that every action is recorded, every action is on the system. This means that we are creating a transparent history that holds all of the users accountable, and it detects corruption. If you think blockchain could help your business, you need to understand that there are two important networks that you must choose if you want to implement it in your business. The first one is the public blockchain. If your business is really big on decentralization, it's really big on security, well, the public blockchain could be a solution. Why choose public? Because public is decentralized. Every user has the same information as you do. Everyone could see what action has been taken in your company, for example. And if you want to lure investors in, and if you want to boost your image, you might use the public blockchain to show people what is really happening in your company. If you want to use, if your company is really big on security, is really big on privacy, you must choose a private blockchain. What's the difference? Well, the public blockchain is more controlled because there's a central authority, and with restricted access comes more security. So it's suitable for corporate privacy needs. Another thing is that you can use the public blockchain and you can use the private blockchain at the same time. For example, you might use the public blockchain and in showing where are the funds going for your investors, and you can use the private blockchain to secure payments. Maybe you want to store some really important information about your customers, such as, I don't know, their home addresses and so on. You can store them on the private blockchain. For example, at our startup, we use the private blockchain to secure the legal files. Here's a simple diagram at what we are doing. Well, we are digitalizing, first of all, the legal documents. We are uploading them on the private blockchain. And the key thing is that only authorized users could connect. For example, prosecutors, judges, lawyers, and so on. We are creating restricted access at a blockchain, so that means that we are using a private one. If you think that all of this is interesting, you need to see what are the practical applications in various industries. I mean, what companies are implementing blockchain right now. The first one is Walmart. Walmart is very big in the United States. Walmart uses blockchain for food safety traceability in the supply chain. Well, Walmart had a really big problem a few years ago when a food outbreak was happening in one of their stores. They couldn't trace it because it was not digitalized, and even if it was digitalized, not every, the products didn't have an ID or a solution to find out where the product came from, who was involved in the shipment, at what conditions was the food bring in at the store. So they partnered up with Microsoft, and they came up with a solution. Every farm had their own IDs, and they traced the product, and when a food outbreak came, they could see what product caused it and what was the problem. Another company that had problems with their products, was LVMH. You know LVMH because they own the brands like Louis Vuitton, Bulgari, and many other luxury ones. They had a problem with counterfeiting. The price of their clothes was really high, so people were counterfeiting them, and they partnered up with Aura. Aura is a startup that is involved in blockchain. They partnered up with them, and they created a digital passport for the luxury goods. So LVMH made a blockchain solution for product traceability. They traced the material sourcing. For example, this T-shirt, they traced what material was used in this T-shirt, what was the factory that made my T-shirt, the distribution. They traced from what factory to what store my T-shirt was transported, and when I bought a T-shirt, really important, they made me the owner of this T-shirt on the blockchain. Meaning that when I want to sell this T-shirt, I can really prove that it's authentic, and the resale value went up. And this is how LVMH resolved the very big problem of counterfeiting products in their business. Another company is Starbucks. Starbucks didn't have a problem actually. Starbucks just wanted to create a clever thing for their consumers. When you are drinking coffee from a Starbucks in some countries, they tend to have a QR code on the back of the cup. And when you scan this QR code, you can see at what farm at what farm the beans were made, what was the origin, what is the quality, and what were the ethical practices of that farm. Because we know we have a really big problem with the beans and the coffee, because a lot of farmers don't pay their workers at all or very low and in bad conditions. So they tracked the origins, the ethical practices, they logged the transport and the storage details, and they recorded how was your coffee roasted, at what time, and for how much time. Track the distribution path, and at the end, the consumer can see the really big journey that their coffee had. What are the implementation strategies and the models if you want to adopt this clever technology in your business? You need to identify a problem. Many of you, if you ever went to hackathons, they told you you need to solve a problem first of all. Well, if you want to adopt the blockchain, you must really solve a problem, because blockchain is complicated technology, and if you want to resolve it with blockchain, you must find first of all a problem. Let's think of business. For example, I might have a business that specializes in consumer products, and maybe I want to be more transparent with my buyers. Well, I can use blockchain, like I said, to track the origins of my T-shirt, right? So I can really show that it's good quality. After that, after we found the problem in my business, I need to choose the right blockchain network. Well, in my exercise that I already told you, if I want to track the origins of my T-shirt, the T-shirt that I sell, we might need to choose what type of blockchain we need, the public one or the private one. Well, if the buyers want to see the origins of the T-shirt that they buy, we might use the public one because it's open and it's decentralized. And consult with blockchain experts. Like I said, blockchain is not an easy technology to adopt, but it's a very efficient one after adopting it. So you need to work with developers or consultants to design a tailored solution for your own needs. Don't just try to implement blockchain for your own, because it will take a really long time and be really inefficient. You need to work with professionals, like all the other companies did, like IBM, Microsoft, and there are a lot of more startups that could be cheaper. Start with a pilot project. Well, after consulting and working with some blockchain experts and companies, we need to start with a pilot project. We need to test blockchain just in one area of our business to evaluate effectiveness. Like my example, we might need to test out blockchain first of all with tracking the product. After that, we can add blockchain in handling payments and maybe making a private one for the tracking data of our consumers. But first of all, let's stick to just one problem and implement blockchain in just one area to evaluate its effectiveness, evaluate if it's really important for your business. After that, integrate it with existing systems, like if I have a store that sells T-shirts, I can implement blockchain after that with my existing payment system, for example, and maybe I can integrate it with my existing database for clothes. So ensure that blockchain connects smoothly with your current software. After we've done all that, we might scale up blockchain to other areas as the pilot succeeds. Like I said, we might implement it in handling payments, we might implement it in the tracking data. After all of this, if you really think that blockchain is not worth it, well, think of the future. The blockchain future is bright because many countries are implementing it to create a decentralized digital identity. We hear all of the time that governments have data breaches. Well, the UAE is working on implementing blockchain in their digital IDs. Like we have the bulletin, they have their own IDs, and they are working on creating a digital one that is decentralized, meaning that you can get married, you can sell a house, you can buy a house, you can sell a car, rent something, all on the digital network that's called blockchain. Another thing that smart contracts are on the rise. We in the Republic of Moldova know the digital contracts, like the digital signature. Well, the blockchain has a solution of its own that it's called smart contracts. Smart contracts are just a set of rules that once they are completed, an action takes place. For example, if my friend pays me $10, for example, my email sends him a photo. Well, the rise of smart contracts is really big. This is just one place that I can implement it. You can do research on your own and find out why it is so important. I just give a really small example. And supply chain transparency. Every investor is looking on transparency. You need to be transparent with your investors. You need to be transparent with your customers. So implementing blockchain on the supply chain transparency is really important because all of the companies are doing it, and if you don't adapt, that's going to be difficult. Well, I have some time left, I see. Thank you for your attention. If you found this interesting, we can connect on LinkedIn. I'm working on LexChain with my other friend that is here right now. And
Yes, please.
Hello. I have a question. I'm from Latvia, and we do have a digital signature. We have digital platforms, e-government, everything what you mentioned just. And what I'm doing, I'm teaching society how to actually use those tools. So my question is, does Moldova and society of Moldova is ready for it?
Your question is if blockchain or if all of if implementing blockchain in Republic of Moldova is ready for it. Well, in our case, digitalizing the legal documents in Republic of Moldova, we are not. The people don't have a word to say, because the main thing is not that we are using blockchain. The main thing is that we're fighting corruption and fighting for human rights. And blockchain is just a solution. If we are talking about the startup that I'm working on, people are ready to live in a country that doesn't have corruption and a country that supports the human rights, their human rights. And blockchain is just a solution for that. If you are talking about the business side, well, again, it comes with transparency and comes with security, and I think people are ready for transparency and security. Blockchain needs to be more promoted. People don't really know what this technology means. They just link it with cryptocurrency. So people, we need to work on educating and making people more friendly with this technology.
Thank you very much, Adrian. So, as you've said, transparency is the future, and we are fighting against corruption. So, thank you very much. You are Gen Z. We are very happy to have you here and to look at you how you're working for a better place. Yeah, starting with Moldova. Thank you, Adrian.